Salam sejahtera kepada semua sahabat dan penduduk Bukit Batok. Saya telah mula mengunjungi anda sejak beberapa minggu yang lalu dan berharap dapat mengunjungi semua penduduk dalam masa yang terdekat ini. Sekiranya kita belum lagi bertemu, saya mahu anda ketahui bahawa sekiranya saya dipilih sebagai AP anda. Keutamaan saya ialah untuk menjaga estate perumahan anda dan mengurus majlis bandaran Bukit Batok secara produktif dan cekap. Saya akan melaksanakan tugas saya sebagai AP secara sepenuh masa. Ini akan membolehkan saya menumpukan perhatian saya sepenuhnya kepada keperluan dan keprihatinan anda. Selain itu, saya juga akan menjadi suara alternatif anda di Parlimen dan membawa harapan, impian dan inspirasi anda ke Parlimen. Oleh itu, sokonglah SDP, sokonglah saya dalam pilihan raya kecil ini. Kami sekeluarga menyampaikan rasa kasih dan yang terbaik buat anda sekeluarga. Terima kasih. Vanakkam Bukit Batok. Vakalagale. Ninggal yanake azaravu kurutal. Nan ungaluke mulunira MP yaga save puruven. Unggal save gulukaga atiga niram se paduven. Town Council miga ziranda murai naratuven. Parlamenti unggalu daya kuralaga European itu urudi. Nandri Vanakkam. Dajiahao. Auntie, Uncle, 阿伯阿姆，我很荣幸参加这个补选，很兴奋，很高兴看到这么多人来参加我们的今晚的行政大会。没有想到，从去年的大选这么快，我们又再有一个竞选了。我会用福建话跟国语、华文常常讲，你们听得懂，我就很高兴。这个补选真的最问题，很多问题，很多事件，我要跟你们解释。第一个就是这个补选内，我们就要选 PAP 的候选人，或许 SDP 的候选人，你们要好好的考虑，看你们要投谁的票。如果我们选上错的候选人，我们的前途就会很失望。我来解释，给你们听一听。第一条，第几条，就是穆拉利先生，他要盖这个3代同堂的公园，但是呢，穆拉利先生一讲，这个公园只有我当选一东算，一再来 来甲你去。我听了都无什么丢。在提名那天，星期三，我就在克明的小学一学堂里，我讲给记者听，我讲穆拉利先生一传单伊甲你人讲，我要全心全意来为你们服务。但是呢，伊讲有条件呢。你想想看，要为全心全意为你们服务，但是呢，你们要选我，我没选不上，我不东算，我不要为你们全心全意来服务。有这个代志吗？你跟咱做父母，跟咱囝讲啊？啊是你讲你无爱给我钱，我不要疼你们，我不要养你们，有这件事吗？我就听了这个我就很失望。但是呢，我那样子讲的时候，在报纸有登，他就昨天，一就巴拉斯巴勒，个巴拉也个巴拉刚不信，一讲。无啦，无论谁当选 ，PAP 还是 SDP， 这个公园它还是会盖。我听了，较放心，较欢喜淡薄，无爱改告计较啦，对不？我们要做不好听的时候，会一直在跟他吵这件事。但是好没有关系，他有那样讲，我们就说算了吧，但是呢，他在这个方面，你记不记得那个黄金发、王金焕，他去年大选的时候，跟大家讲，伊讲你若是。算我好了提小贩中心有不？你们记不记得要盖那个乐龄护理中心？还有这个儿童保护的中心，隆重一共要有差不多2400万的钱，但是呢？穆拉利先生一讲出来，伊讲伊爱这个公园，伊讲190万，但是伊不会去讲黄金发有这些计划了。所以我要跟大家讲说，那边还漏，我会当乌吉巴都的全职的国会议员。我会好好的把我们这区，我们的植物区，好好的照顾。我会把黄金发他这个计划，把东西你们要的小贩中心、这个乐龄护理中心跟这个儿童保护中心，我们的会把它继续。他们计划把它盖起来。我当这边的全职的国会议员，我在白天会在乌吉巴都。穆拉利先生呢，他白天的时候他在哪里呢？他在他的办公室。如果你白天的时候你有问题，你有碰到什么重要的事情，你要跟人家国会议员讨论，要跟他们讲报告。如果是我当你的国会议员，你只要去乌吉巴都这边的 Bukit Batok Central 中心，对不对？但是呢， 如果你白天的时候，穆拉利先生是你的国会议员，你要跑到山登威哦，你要坐那个 MRT 跑到山登威，你希望那个 MRT 不会出问题，因为最近没有把握的，不给。此外，我会在国会里替你们出声发言。现在国会最近有81个 DAB 的议员，你加一个82个，有什么差别无？穆拉利先生他说他要当你们的代表，在国会。但是呢，你们要了解，他的老板是谁？他的老板是李显龙，他的党的秘书长。李显龙讲什么？穆拉利先生有办法反对不？不可能的。李显龙说 A， 他只说 A。李显龙说 B， 他只是要说 B。一不是讲较多嘞，一讲较多下个大选李显龙不要派他当候选人，那怎么办？但是呢，谁是我的老板？我不会听李显龙跟我讲的话，跟我讲这样就是这样子，不可能。我的老板就是你们，就是你们选民。我听的是谁的话，就是听你们的话。我举一个例子给你们听，说如果我当选，还是如果穆拉利先生当选，现在我知道你们生活过得也是不简单。你去高比店，你啉一杯高比，这阵以前是8角，起9角，起1块，这阵有的为那种1、1、2，对不？你食叶楼梯边，抹牛油放鸡啊，开始无来2粒卵，对不对？你们想一想看就好。那物件就是起价。了，讲咱去巴萨，你拿50块去，买无2项物件，买淡薄菜啦，买淡薄肉啦，买淡油啦，转来雷开了，无项2项物件。部长他们了解吗？他们会了解无？他们哪里可能了解我们住在这些 SDP 的，我们的困难，我们的辛苦在哪里？每一个都是百万富翁，徛的厝拢食风厝，伊人的白车的位比我人的厝更大间的。你好好听李总理伊的薪水一日8000块。唔是一年唔是一天咧，唔是一个月咧，一天呢就8000块，保长一日5000块，你好好想，你好好想，你爱做偌久，你才赚8000块。伊安迪，我去看伊个笔店。老安迪70几岁，伊咧收盘切刀顶，问伊：你一个月做偌济？伊讲1000块。你一日做偌久？8点钟。你一个礼拜做几日？6日。伊就爱做1个月，就爱做8个月，一直赚李总理一日的薪水。你们想一想。穆拉利先生，他会不会进去国会，替你们这个出声，替你们这个发言吗？
我也是要问穆拉利先生，他觉得他今天或许昨天，他说他不用当全职的国会议员。你想看哈，国会议员哈，一个月哈有15000，15千，不是薪水哦，他们叫 allowance 哦 ，allowance。我是讲，你们有这种的钱，你还觉得你们不要当全职的国会议员吗？你还觉得你应该要当 part time 的吗？所以我只想说，我唔知你让我听我唱这福建歌100万，你无听啊？你个电脑了，你开来听，是安爸阿姆啊，你若是袂晓开吼，你叫你囝开互你听，100万。我是问不给巴到5、7、8度的居民这边呐，如果他们如果有100万呐，100万，爱安怎用咧？伊人讲唔知啦，唔捌想过你安尼做落去。但是咧，我讲，你爱一世人咧，趁无到100万，我人无变，趁安尼做落，但是我讲不要紧，我会进入国会替你们 fight， 我会进入国会来倒卡手，让慢慢一步一步让会进步。搁一条代志咧，搁一条问题咧，我有时有讲，但是早起伫 MRT 了，有碰到有一个先生，他跟我讲，这个你们回去看一看，好，你等厝吼，你拿你水电的单来看，好，你看你用的水偌济类，哦，他们政府加上税30%，啊是讲你用20块，伊人甲你佫算你 tax。30%，唔是有26块，唔是26块内面吼，伊佫甲你贴，佫甲你纳落去消费税 GST 7%。伊人我跟你讲，伊保定吼，他们不感觉到这些都是对我们来钱，是说是钱来的。进入国会，我会把这些问题跟这个政府来辩论。穆拉利先生会不会？现在连我们的卡巴的钱，他们也在起了。现在他们说星期天卡巴那个修理了。有些人问，你是一个人，你可以做什么呢？对不对？多一个人。但是那天我有一个昂哥在大排154那边，他们在早上在做的时候，他们在聊天。昂哥他又讲。他说：“不可以那样想的，啊！如果我们在国会有多个反对党，政府的态度、政府的态度会变。那是反对党的国会，一旦讲了有道理，报纸会登，人家会看到，哦，这个反对党他们会讲了有道理。”人家下次的大选，他们会支持。慢慢的，我们的反对党，会慢慢的在国会里面再涨。安迪安哥，我跟你们讲一下，政府要小心。PAP 他们还没有竞选以前，伊会争手，伊互你一个鸡腿。你投票过了，一倒手，甲你整只鸡，甲你夹回来。我知你人会艰苦，我知你人会激心，我知你人会希望，但是咧，你人爱支持。若是我无入国会， 我们没有办法来替你发言，不变可能倒卡手。外在的人担心说，如果我们选民主党，我们的主屋会不会翻新？我跟你讲，你放心，我跟你讲了，政府讲了 ，PAP 有承认，讲无论谁当选，不管是行动党或是民主党，我们这个计划，我们也是会继续的。所以我跟你讲说，放心，好不好？你们要会投民主党的票，你会有一个全职的国会议员，真的会为你们全心全意的来为你们服务。所以下个星期六5月7号，你们要投 SDP 的票，支持我们民主党，好不好？祝大家好运，祝大家阿表身体健康，谢谢你，谢谢。Good evening, my friends. How are you? I cannot tell you how excited I am to be back in this constituency to contest the by-election. To be honest, we never expected to meet with you like this so soon after the general elections last year. But something happened. And Mr. David Ong had to resign, and so we are here at a by-election in Bukit Batok. I remember distinctly when I was in the middle of a conference, when one of my colleagues whispered to me, David Ong resigned, David Ong resigned. And I was thinking to myself, who's David Ong? And it didn't occur to me that it was the MP until he said, Bukit Batok. And then it dawned on me. And it didn't take long for us to decide that we would contest in the by-election. My only reservation at first about being a candidate was that with a surname like mine, taking part in a by-election, oh my gosh, can you imagine the internet is going to have a field day making fun of it? And it has. But seriously, it's good to be back in this constituency. The SDP had stood in Bukit Batok in 1991, and we performed credibly, coming close by garnering 48.2% of the vote. Seeing this, the PAP put Bukit Batok SMC into the Bukit Timah GRC for the 1997 general elections, and thereafter into the Jurong GRC. Then after nearly 20 years, it decided it was safe again for Bukit Batok to become a single seat. This is the way that PAP plays the game. Whenever it seems an SMC is going to be won by the opposition, it quickly redraws the boundary. You remember Juche? When it was about to fall to the WP, the PAP quickly roped it into the Marine Parade GRC. Now the PAP says, hey, where was the SDP all these years? You see how they operate? We had been campaigning very hard in Bukit Panjang, Holland Bukit Timah, Marsiling, and so on. And then from out of the blue, the PAP suka-suka announces at the last minute that after 20 years, mind you, that Bukit Batok will become an SMC again. This is the kind of game that it plays. And then it tries to distract you and says, oh, where is the opposition? And then it tells you that its candidate, Mr. Murali, was in Bukit Batok for 16 years, neglecting to mention that he was a candidate in the Aljunied GRC in the 2015 GE. By the way, over the past few weeks, most of the residents whom we have met told us they have not seen or know of Mr. Murali. Be that as it may, we in the SDP, we don't look back. We never say die. Instead, we always say, yes, we can. We look ahead, always with a can-do spirit. So when we heard that Bukit Batok had become an SMC, again, we immediately said that we were going to contest here. Why? Because we feel that this is home to us. That in a sense, the SDP has come home. 我们回来了. Kita sudah balik kampung. And so I hope that you are just as excited as I am about this by-election. I'm excited for a couple of reasons. The first is that we now have the opportunity to run the town council because this gives us the chance to organize the resources and rally the Bukit Batok community to bigger and better things. Running a town council will allow the SDP to shine and demonstrate our competence. As your MP, I will dedicate myself full-time to performing my role in managing the town council and the estate as well as attending to your needs. My priority is to ensure that the estate is taken care of with maximum efficiency and minimum wastage. On this point, you have my word. But I don't want to just tell you that we will be competent managers of the Bukit Batok Town Council. I want to demonstrate to you that how we're going to go about it. Already we have formed a transition team that will ensure a smooth handover process from the PAP team should we win the election. The team comprises of 4 accountants, 3 estate managers, 6 lawyers to help us with this transition phase and to oversee the transition period and make sure that the new SDP-run Bukit Gombak Town Council works without a hitch, all from day one. In addition, we will not appoint a managing agent, as this will add another layer of expenses to the residents. As I said, I will dedicate myself, apart from my parliamentary duties, to the proper management of town council operations. We will employ experienced managers to head the various departments. You see, the reason why your conservancy and service charges are so high is because PAP MPs, after they get elected, outsource the running of the town council to profit-making companies. In other words, if you vote for the PAP, you are electing an MP and then paying another business to run your estate. In the meantime, the MP collects his allowance of $15,000 and smiles all the way to the bank. PAP MPs only work part-time for you. Not bad, right? $15,000 for a part-time job. And then Mr. Murali says he doesn't need to be a full-time MP to do the job. He's right. If you contract out the running of the town council and if you get all the volunteers to do your work for you. But if you want to ensure that you personally see to the running of a productive town council, take charge of the problems of the state, and more importantly, tend to the needs of the residents, there is no way, absolutely no way, that you can be a part-time MP. There is no earthly way that you can deliver a full-time job, quality of service, by doing only part-time work. If like that, everybody also know how to do it, right? Work part-time, get full-time pay. Not bad. Next time, why don't you try walking into your boss's office and say, hey boss, I got an idea. I come in part-time only, but you pay me full-time, okay? And you see what your boss says. Please, don't insult the people's intelligence. Mr. Murali says that an MP is not a one-man show. He has to work with others as a team. I know that. By the same token, he is not a one-man operation in his law firm. He has a team, apparently dozens of lawyers and secretaries to help him. So I'll make Mr. Murali this proposition. Since he has people helping him in his law firm, and he will have people helping him in the town council if he wins, if he is elected, why not do a swap? He comes into the town council during the day, and when he finishes the work as an MP in Bukit Batok, then you go to your office in Shenton Way and finish up whatever you have to do there. In that way, you can still have your job as a lawyer and as an MP. All you're doing is just to give Bukit Batok your priority. That's all. I hope that Mr. Murali can tell Bukit Batok residents whether he will do this in the coming days. You see, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about priority. In life, in everything we do, we have choices to make. And the things we choose reflect what is most important to us. Agree? If I ask you to choose between your children or $1 million, which would you choose? You don't even have to think. Mr. Murali's choice of not committing himself full-time to Bukit Batok, and I'm not saying this, that it's a bad choice for him and his family. In fact, I think it's good for him because he has talent and his clients obviously need his services, and we shouldn't begrudge him doing it and making his money. But it does reflect what is closest to his heart. And home is where the heart is. Me? There is no question. My heart is here. Full time in Bukit Batok. When Mr. Murali wakes up in the morning, his first destination is his office. When I wake up in the morning, my first destination is Bukit Batok. Priority. It's all about priority. And speaking of priority, I want to raise the issue of the 3-generation park that Mr. Murali promised residents. He said that it would be built at a cost of $1.9 million. But sadly, he also said that it would be built only if he is elected. I don't want to misrepresent him, so I will quote him as it was reported in the Straits Times. He said, this plan, this $1.9 million plan we are presenting, is a plan by the PAP Jurong Clementi Town Council. We will have the mandate to carry on only if we are returned at the by-election. Unquote. I find such an attitude absolutely appalling. So I called him out on this during nomination day on Wednesday. I said that if he truly cared, if he genuinely cared about the residents, he would not say that the park would only be built if he was elected. The rationale behind building a 3-generation park is to bring grandparents, parents, and children closer together, right? You mean to say that if Mr. Murali is not elected, he is then not interested in fostering closer ties in families? What is your priority? Is it your party? Is it yourself? Or is it your residents? If you truly cared about the residents, you would say, I want to be elected. But if voters want my opponent as their MP, then I respect their wishes. And I will work with the elected MP to still build a park because my priority is the residents' well-being, not the PAP's, not mine. And after I pointed this out on Wednesday, Mr. Murali then ke belakang pusing. And he said yesterday that no, whoever is elected, the park can be built. Again, I want to quote him verbatim. He said, quote, the 1.9 million project is a funding neutral project. It's not really dependent on whether the PAP wins or loses, unquote. If we wanted to be nasty about it, we would start attacking Mr. Murali, right? Either for being confused or for flip-flopping. And we'll keep harping on this for the remainder of this campaign. But that's not what we want to do. We want to come back to what you, the voters in Bukit Batok, really care about. And that is your everyday lives. Now, since Mr. Murali and also the PAP has clarified that whoever wins this election, whichever party runs the constituency, the government will work with the MP and the town council will build these projects. This is important to remember, my friends. Whoever wins this by-election, the upgrading projects will be carried out. This includes the projects that the former MP here, Mr. David Ong, promised in the general elections last year. Mr. Ong told you that he would build, among other things, a hawker center, elder care and child care centers, and has allocated $24 million for these projects. The curious thing is that Mr. Murali didn't mention any of these projects when he unveiled his $1.9 million 3G Park project. Maybe he forgot about it. But that's okay. Because if I am elected as your MP, I will make sure that these projects come into fruition. It's been 6 months since Mr. Ong was elected, and I'm sure plans have been made. Blueprints have been drawn up. Funds have been allocated and so on. I will follow up on these plans and make sure that the projects come into fruition and completion, and residents in this town can look forward to a new hawker center, elder care and child care centers. And because I will do the MP's job full-time, I will not contract out the running of the town council to a business to make a profit from you. By working directly with the staff, we will be able to save on the managing agent's fees, and we will be able to pass the savings back to you, thus keeping your conservancy charges to a minimum. The PAP tells you that the Bukit Batok Town Council will enjoy economies of scale if it remains in the Jurong Clementi Town Council. What it doesn't tell you is that by employing a managing agent and refusing to have its MPs work full-time, it unnecessarily raises expenses for you. Not only does the PAP contract out the management of the town council, it collects a whole lot of fees from you, building up huge surpluses, and then invests these funds in risky projects. In 2008, 8 PAP town councils lost $16 million by investing in failed financial products from Lehman Brothers. This will not happen in Bukit, Batok under my watch, ladies and gentlemen. We will consult you on what we should do with your surpluses. We don't only tell you what we are going to do. We have listed out specific things that we will accomplish at the end of the first 100 days. These goals include, number 1, a comprehensive report of transition and handover processes. 2, a clear town council budgetary plan. 3, the first financial interim report. 4, the work plan for the first 12 months of the town council operations. And 5, a set of maintenance strategies. I have just mentioned a few. There are others which we will list out in our town council promise to you, which you can read on our website, yoursdp.org. And why do we do this? Why do we go through the whole trouble of telling you specifically what will be done, by whom and by when? We do this because we not only want to match the current levels of management of PAP-run town councils, we want to surpass them. We want to set new standards for transparency and accountability in town council governance. We do this because we want to be held accountable. Our mission is to run a competent, transparent, and accountable town council. And the only way to do this is to tell you, Bukit Batok residents, right from the beginning, concrete steps that we're going to take and the goals we're going to achieve. In other words, we invite you to track our performance. If we succeed, we will have earned your confidence. If we fail, you will be able to hold us accountable and kick us out at the next election. That's what transparency and accountability is all about. If we are going to call out the PAP for its non-transparent and non-accountable governance, a dangerous problem which I will elaborate in the next few rallies, then we must be able to do better than them. But as your MP, I don't want to focus only on the hardware. I want Bukit Batok to be a place where there is goodness in our hearts, where we not only keep our corridors swept and our lift landings clean, but we will also build a caring community, one that all of you can be proud of. At the next rally, I will lay out our plans on how we are going to do this. The second reason why I'm excited about running in this by-election is that I have a chance to get into Parliament to speak up for you. This is the perfect opportunity to elect another opposition MP because the PAP, has formed the government. Why elect me? Why not Mr. Murali? Running town council is just one part of the job. The other part is to ensure that your voice, your views are heard in Parliament. An MP must be able to raise your concerns and hardships in Parliament and bring them to the government's attention and press it to act on your concerns. Hand on heart. Hand on heart. How many of you think that Mr. Murali will be able to do this better than I can in Parliament? Do you think Mr. Murali will be different from his other 81 fellow MPs and ask the hard questions that must be asked in Parliament and debate the ministers from his own party? Will he ask why ministers' salaries are so high while so many of us are struggling with the cost of living? Will he ask for SDP to open up its books to find out how much SDP flats really cost? Will he ask why the government tells Singaporeans that there's no need to get a degree and yet give foreign students generous grants to study at our universities? Will he ask why the GIC refuses to disclose how much of our reserves it has and how much it made or lost while the government continues to withhold our CPF savings? These are issues that affect our everyday lives, our livelihood, and for many of us, our children's future. And these are the issues I will raise in Parliament if elected. My friends, it is imperative that you send someone to Parliament to question and debate the ministers. How will voting for another MP do that? I cannot emphasize anymore how important it is to have someone to speak up for you in Parliament, especially given the problems that our country faces. I don't have to tell you that things are going to get worse as layoffs pile up and job growth is at a standstill. This is where it gets really important, my friends. So I want you to listen closely. I brought up this issue at the GE last year. But after the elections, a report by Nomura Securities, a Japanese financial instrument, appeared, confirming what I said. The Nomura report stated, and I quote, Singapore's drive in restructuring its economy to lift productivity has failed thus far, and its drag on economic growth is expected to last until the end of this decade, unquote. Folks, this is serious. I know many of you don't understand the finer points of economics. Don't worry, neither do I. I find it very difficult to follow too. But you don't have to have a degree in economics to know this. If our productivity doesn't grow, and it hasn't been growing in the last 10 to 15 years, our economy won't grow. And if our economy doesn't grow, your wages won't grow. Worse, if our economy doesn't grow, many of you will be retrenched, like what is happening now. Are you with me so far? Note two things, 2 points from this report. One, it says that the PAP's economic restructuring plans have failed. And two, more importantly, there's no change in sight to this dismal situation. In other words, there will not be any growth in productivity, hence economic growth in the foreseeable future because of PAP's policies. Now, I want to quote a gentleman by the name of Mr. Han Fuk Kwang. Some of you may know who he is. He is the editor of the Straits Times. And when you have somebody who starts sounding an alarm in the pro-PAP Straits Times, you know that something is serious. Mr. Han said, and I quote, one number in the report was telling. According to Nomura, the government has spent $21 billion since it launched its restructuring exercise, including paying for National Productivity Fund, Work Credit Scheme, the National Research Fund, and all the various productivity incentives, but with little progress to show, unquote. The Prime Minister himself has admitted to this problem, saying that we are maxed out on easy ways of productivity gain and economic growth. He said, productivity is very tough to do. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, he doesn't know quite what to do. The PAP is just doing the same thing over and over again, each time coming up with new names for its initiatives. Construction, productivity scheme, productivity and innovation scheme, wage credit scheme, ICT for productivity and growth scheme, and most recently, the Skills Future scheme. Do you know what Albert Einstein said about insanity? Einstein said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Let me drive home the point again. Productivity and innovation are key to our economic future, our economic survival. A PricewaterhouseCoopers study surveyed 1,200 CEOs. Listen to this. And they all agree that productivity and innovation are crucial factors to growth in this globalized economy. I'm going to put it as simply as I can. Without productivity, without an innovative economy, and as I've showed you, we don't have one, we are going to suffer. So what is necessary to boost our productivity and innovation? Change. If we don't change, we die. It's as plain as that.
And the one thing that we must do to change is that our political system must allow the people the freedom to speak, to express themselves without getting sued by the Prime Minister, without media filtering what we say, and without constantly portraying the PAP as a party of heroes. What Singapore needs is for the PAP to stop being the albatross hanging around our necks. The government must not continue to control what we read and watch on TV, newspapers and radio, and in the process kill off our innovative spirit. Don't take it from me. Listen to what Steve Wozniak said. Wozniak was, of course, the co-founder of Apple, together with Steve Jobs. He was invited by the NTUC to speak here a few years ago. And he said that Singapore could not produce a company like Apple because the system here has destroyed creative elements and give rise to the innovative companies like Apple. Change. That's what Singapore needs. Friends, if you are still not worried by now, let me say to you two words that ought to make you sit up and pay attention. Eastman Kodak. Those of you who are old enough will remember that when we need film for our cameras, right, to take pictures, 12 or 24 or 36 exposures. Remember? Not like the smartphones you use nowadays where you just click and then you store them in a file. We used to have to buy the film, put in a camera, and when the film was all used up, send it to the film shop and have it developed. Those of you who can remember, it makes you feel a little bit old, doesn't it? Manufacturing the film was Kodak. It was the giant of all the camera film companies. Everyone knew who Kodak was. Up until the 1990s, it was one of the world's 5 most valuable brands like Google, Apple, or Microsoft today. But because it did not change and adapt to new digital technology, it filed for bankruptcy in 2012. And it's now just a piece of history. After 130 years of dominating the business of photography. Another example is Nokia. Because it didn't adapt quickly enough to change, enough to smartphones, it lost the business. The same thing with Sharp, Xerox, Texas Instruments. All once mighty global companies, all history now. Change. If you don't change, you die. You become history. That's what is happening to us. The PAP keeps telling you that we're doing great. We're number one in this, we're number one in that. But I've just showed you. That's all propaganda. The reality is that we are not doing well. And our future is bleak because we are not productive. We are not innovative. Will we become obsolete like Kodak? But what can we do to change? It's a long, hard process, to be sure. But we need to start somewhere. We need to start sometime. And the time is now. The place is Bukit Batok. We can start this process by electing a party that has emphasized the need to open up society so that our people have the space to freely question and debate practices that are crucial for society to become creative and innovative. Yes, you want your housing estate to be well taken care of. You want your town council to be effectively managed. And you want the upgrading. I hear you. And I give you my solemn pledge that I will make sure that this constituency is effectively managed and we will continue with all the upgrading works either in progress or in the pipeline. You can put your mind at ease on this. With this assurance, you can vote for someone who will speak up for you, who will make the difference in Parliament for you. In other words, it's a win-win situation for you to vote for the SDP. You can have the best of both worlds. This is the first rally that we have in this by-election, and because it's the first rally, I want to tell you how the SDP will run our campaign. Some people have told me, hey, whack David Ong lah. That's the PAP's weakest point. Second one already, the first one is Michael Palmer, and PAP still hasn't learned its lesson. No, I don't want to do that. Not my style. You never kick a man when he's down. There's no honor in that. For all I know, David Ong is a good guy. But sometimes good guys make bad mistakes. Who hasn't? Didn't someone once put it so beautifully? To err is human, to forgive is divine.
Let's leave Mr. Ong alone for him to find his life again and let his family heal again. As for Mr. Murali, I've met him a couple of times. We met once at a funeral not far from here, and then at the nomination center. We didn't have much time to talk, but even then, from that short time, I found him to be a very decent chap. And I've heard good things about him. My criticisms of Mr. Murali is not about his person, and I want to emphasize this. It's about his political views. So I tell my colleagues in the SDP, and I hope all our friends and supporters will abide by this too. Please, do not launch personal attacks against my opponent. Like me, he is Singaporean first, and the PAP member second. I believe this about him, and I hope he believes that I am Singaporean first and SDP member second. We can disagree, but let us disagree gentlemanly and with civility. What is important now is that we as Singaporeans focus on these issues that confront us and our future. For my friends here in Bukit Batok, it is important that you focus on the two candidates before you. And with everything that you have heard tonight and in the coming week, decide on who can better serve you as your MP. I'm asking you to vote for the SDP, to vote for me, so that I can get into Parliament to provide more alternative voices, to raise the hard questions on your behalf, to elevate the level of debate in Parliament, and to change the political climate from one of fear and stagnation to one of confidence and hope and innovation. Now is the time. Now is the time to talk about restoring our CPF. Now is the time to bring about more transparency in the GIC and Temasek holdings. Now is the time to change so that our people, our culture can become innovative. Now is the time, not the next general elections, because it may be too late. Now is the time to bring your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations, your concerns, your worries with me into Parliament. Now is the time. We may not get another chance like this. Now is the time to vote for the SDP and to vote for me as your Member of Parliament. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you and good night, everybody.